Good morning, everyone. This is Brett Simon. Just wanted to say good morning to you. And since today is a holiday here in America for some people, it's actually Martin Luther King's holiday. Because I'm off work today, I thought I'd spend a few minutes with you, take some questions. I only did that. I only did a live session a couple of days ago, so it's possibly a bit of overkill for some of you. If you don't want to watch this video, that's great, but since this is a weekday, it might be a bit more accessible to some other people. So if any of you are around and you want to ask me some questions, I'd be more than happy to take those questions, and I'll try and get through them quickly. So DV 2020 status, there's no answer on the appeal yet. We don't know when that's going to be. We have no way of predicting the outcome or the date of the decision of the appeal court. So no news. I'm very well, thank you. Let's see. When is the verdict? Yeah. So you're all asking sort of questions at the moment about DV 2020 and DV 2021. So there's no news to share on that. Okay. It's just, we just have to be patient and wait for that. I'm afraid it's really, it's frustrating. It's been already a year, nearly a year and a half since the appeal was heard, but we just have to wait. Okay. Any other questions? Let's see. I just got my visa. My case is on AP. How long can it take to get the visa? I'm not from Iran. If you mean your case is on refused but 221G, that time can vary. As you correctly point out, for Iranians, it can be up to 4 or 5 months. For other cases, it can be anything from a week or two to, a few weeks. There's really no way to predict it unless you know the reason that you're on 221G. If your SIAC status, on the other hand, says the words administrative processing, then that's a very special status that appears just before the visas are issued. So, make sure you don't confuse those two things. Hello, Simon. Do KCC process all cases? Do they leave any case unprocessed? They process all the DS-260s they receive. We had some court documentation, some statements from the government in one of the years where there was 119,000 selectees, and at some point before the year end, the government stated they had processed 102,000 of those. The difference was partly because the year hadn't ended, about 17,000 difference, right? Partly because the year hasn't ended, and partly for non-response cases. We know that there is a percentage. Somebody asked me recently why I assume a 10 to 15% non-response. Well, it's based on that sort of data. We know there is a non-response rate that varies between countries and regions, etc. But you can assume a non-response rate. But KCC will process every DS-260 they receive. No new updates of embassy performance. I will be giving updates of embassy performance as I can. But I just did a very detailed embassy performance set of videos just recently over the last couple of weeks. So go and have a look at those. When is case 45K likely to go current and get 2NL? Now, everybody can probably tell Joe what's just happened. An angel died because Joe gave me a case number without a region. So I don't know when you're likely to go current and when you're going to get your 2NL, because I don't even know your region, Joe. Talked about that. Oh, is the DV 2020 winner win the final hearing? We don't know. We don't know what the outcome will be until the outcome has happened. I can't see the future. I can only sort of wait. Freddie says, in Massachusetts, family of 5. How's Massachusetts? Is it cold at the moment? Oh, freezing. It's in the sort of low 50s here, and I'm freezing my ass off. So can't imagine about Massachusetts. A friend of mine has filled the lottery single while applying. Now he's a winner, but actually he is married, father of 2 sons, and now he had them. What is the correct way? The correct way is not to turn up at the interview. If he filled the lottery as single and he actually had 2 kids and he's married, and now he's given the DS260 with that information, then he is 100% certain to be disqualified. There's absolutely no doubt he will be disqualified at the interview. So your friend shouldn't proceed to the interview, because it's just like throwing the money away. Okay, there's absolutely no point in that. Not including a derivative on the original entry is one of the easiest ways to get disqualified if that's what you're trying to do. So that's daft, really. His only, path would be if he had not been married when he was, when he entered, and these are stepchildren that he's gained through marriage that was gained after the entry. But that's probably bullshit. The guy just obviously lied, and now will be disqualified for the lie. That's the way it is. Do you think KCC will reach AF 100K? Probably not. We'll have to see. They might. I mean, look, Africa is not about mathematical calculation. It's about embassy performance. There is some indication that even the Addis Embassy just took 114 interviews in the last few days, that they accepted those for March interviews. Now, 114 interviews for Addis is not enough. That's not going to cure the high case number problem for Addis or any other embassy. But it's better than they have been, right? So it would be a welcome sort of increase in the number of cases that they're interviewing, if that's true. I need to see the correct data, but if it's true, then that's a welcome increase, but it's still not enough. But nevertheless, high case numbers in Africa are more at risk if more embassies behave well. Because if embassies behave well, with 55,000 selectees in Africa and only 24,000 available visas, there is obviously not going to be enough visas to go around. And so somebody has to miss out. Who has to miss out? High case numbers have to miss out. That's how the law works. That's how it's supposed to work. And so if everything works well in the way that they're scheduling, then the visa bulletin will move up relatively slowly and cautiously to make sure that everybody within the visa bulletin range number has a chance to get their interview. And it's only when things are working badly that we see these very high case numbers actually coming through in overselected years. If things are going well, that shouldn't happen. Okay. Do I need to fill out my education history since the age of 12 in the DS264? Yes, that is, it asks for secondary education. And secondary education is considered education from about 11 or 12, depending on the country. So yes, that's what they actually asked for in the form. If you read it properly, that's what it wants, all of the history. And you're wise to include that history, frankly. Any predictions of EU April visa bulletin numbers? Nope. Can we expect to jump up to 20K from 16K? I don't know. No predictions. Asia visa bulletin is going slowly. Why? No, it isn't. If you go and have a look at the visa bulletin for last year, and don't just pay attention to the numbers where we're at, compared now to last year. Have a look at what happened for the next few months after this point in DV 2023. It stayed where it was, right? So you're getting all worked up about slow performance, but you're not understanding that going to a high number and then staying at that high number for several months, for almost 6 months, is absolutely no good to you, right? What you want is correct increases month to month that continue month after month. So stop panicking about low performance in Asia and the same in EU. Just look at the data, please, guys. Use some common sense. JJ Distributors said, it's Jason from South Africa. Just wanted to say a big thank you. We had our interview in Joburg on the 11th of January and all went well. That's fantastic. That was just a few days ago. I'm pleased about that. You should get your visas pretty soon if you haven't already. Fantastic. Good luck with the move. Let's assume some embassies in Africa do that good. What's the highest case number that Africa can get to? So what I've done is I did a region by region estimation of which numbers we would probably see get current. And I made some assumptions in those videos. So if you look at the Africa one, which is probably a 30-minute video, you'll see all of my thoughts on the Africa region and what I think the numbers will end up at. And I said that the danger range starts at around about 60K. But depending on embassy performance, we could see 70K or maybe 80K. But once we get to 90 and 100, it's really hard to imagine how we get to 90, 100, 120 without, with even the embassy performance we're seeing now, right? Let alone improving embassy performance, which we might see. So go and have a look at that video. It really is quite informative. There's no news about the good luck case, but what do you think? Is it closed? It's not closed. There's no news. The appeal has not been heard yet. May I know about performance of US Embassy in Islamabad? I'm going to change my interview location. They're doing good. Again, I did. I created a video on embassy performance, and I showed region by region which embassies were doing good and which were doing not so good. Islamabad is doing pretty well. Please, guys, go look at my existing videos and make sure you've watched those so that you don't have to just ask questions like I've never addressed the subject before. I've spent quite a bit of time on explaining these things, and they're out there. So you want to look at the embassy backlog report video, which was just posted a few days ago. Okay. Looking good in 2024. How young are you? Not young. I'm old, but thank you, Julius. What visas are issued in SEAC data in Europe? Are they under 6K or more? Well, okay. Are you asking how many visas are issued in Europe, or which number ranges? So the number ranges will be up to the current number range, right? You can go look at the data. Look at Zarthesius's site and go have a look at the data. Honestly, you'll find everything you need to know there if you just spend a few minutes and have a look. Any chance of 72K Algeria? Some risk. There's some risk there for that number, of course. But Algeria is a really good embassy, so you can't ask for a better embassy. You have some chance, I would say, but you've got some risk too. Okay. Asia region, case number, what is this? AS 21700. Did I stand a chance? Again, if you have a look at the video that I posted, you'll see my estimations for Asia are around about that number. So you can see you've got some risk, but not too bad risk at that level. Is Morocco 55K safe? Yes, it probably is. Asia visa bulletin case number going slow. It's not going slow. I've already addressed that. What's going on with Cairo? No movement in the bulletin. Are there reasons for that? Cairo are not performing very well. We'll probably see in this coming week, bearing in mind today is a holiday, so KCC is not working, right? I don't think they're working on MLK Day. But we'll see Cairo getting some 2NLs. Now, they have scheduled around about 318 interviews so far this year, I believe. I've got the charts on my website, and I did a video about this the other day. So you can see that exactly. I have to say, the guy that I was complaining about on my last live video, Verified So, who's been doing so many bad videos recently with bad information, just recently, I think he's beginning to mess with me because he's deliberately putting out like really bad information. Now he's doing things like he's created a lookup where you can see, for example, how many interviews on average each embassy is taking, and he managed to get all the numbers wrong. Like, I don't know how he does it. It's like he's deliberately trying to make mistakes. He doesn't seem to understand that up until the end of February is 5 months of scheduling. So when he's looking at the average, he's dividing by 3 because he thinks October, November, December is is the number he's looking at, when actually it includes January and February. It's 5 months of scheduling. We've had 5 full months of scheduling, people. So if an embassy has 300 scheduled interviews to date, that's 60 on an average month, not 100. And if you go to verified So's site, he'll tell you it's 100. He has no idea how to do simple math. Unbelievable. Anyway, back to Cairo. So we need to see Cairo starting to schedule around about 200 interviews per month. I am expecting the embassies to increase their volume of increase the capacity for each of the embassies, right? And Cairo is an important embassy for us to see increase their capacity. What they've done so far is an average of around about 60, 65 per month. That's clearly not enough. They need to be averaging well over 200 per month. 200 a month would give us about 400 applicants per month. And we would have, 7 months, if you include March interviews, 7 months of that, which would be close to what they need on an annual basis. But even that would not be what they should be doing. They should be doing more than that. But we've got to see those sort of numbers, 200, 250. Algeria can manage that. Even Nairobi is doing close to that. So come on, guys, in Cairo, sort it out. You can do it. Why VB of this year is going slower than previous year, while cases are more than previous year. Okay. I think I just explained this just a few moments ago when people were asking about Asia, and you can look at the EU numbers as well. But again, just the extra point you've brought into place there. Just because they select more people does not mean they have to go faster in the visa bulletin, because the more people they select doesn't mean they've got more visas to give out, right? So just because we're an even more over-selected year does not mean they need to be going faster. You can't make that assumption. That's just the wrong way of thinking. The reality is they're not trying to get to the end, right? They're not trying to get to Africa 122K. They're not trying to, okay? They're not trying to get to Asia 40,000. They're not trying to. They're not going to get there. That's not going to happen, right? They're not trying to get to EU 65,000, right? So don't look at the numbers and say, oh, well, they've got to get to 65,000 in EU, and therefore they've got to get. No, it doesn't work like that, because they're not interested in getting to EU 65,000. It's not what they're trying to do. So there you go. It seems Africa won't go current, but go to CN80K since Nairobi has woken for more than 3 years' sleep. That's a nice way of putting it about Nairobi, yes. Thanks again, because I've learned a lot from you. I'm 57K, expecting to go current in May. Yep, everything you said there, I don't disagree with. 80K is maybe a little ambitious, but particularly if Addis Ababa and Cairo sort themselves out. Accra's been a bad embassy for many years in different ways. So Accra, although slow, is not one that is massively impactful for the region as a whole. It's just very impactful for people there. Cairo, though, and Addis, much more impactful for the region as a whole. And so those are the two big embassies that I expect to, or I hope to see doing better over the next few months. That's the key for Africa region as a whole. Those two embassies are the key to the whole thing. And bear in mind, we had several embassies last year and the year before. And as you say, Nairobi was one of those embassies doing badly. Now Nairobi has woken up, as you put it. If Cairo and Addis can wake up, that would be good news for the people there, but bad news for higher case numbers. Good to see you, sir. AF20K, Abu Dhabi and SIAC. Data state show MVC. Any chance to receive 2NL sooner? Sooner than what? You're already current, right? Abu Dhabi is not doing great, but it's not terrible. And so, yeah, you've got a chance of getting your 2NL. For Asia, what's your prediction? Go and have a look at my Asia prediction video, posted just a week and a half ago. When talking about the odds of winning this lottery, what's the difference between once in 200 years and 1 out of 200 people? Or is that the same thing? First one sounds so much worse. I say it the first way to make people wake up. 1 in 200, as you say, doesn't sound bad. But when you say 1 in 200 years, it makes people realize that this isn't a plan. Because I have many people that talk to me saying, in October or between October and May, I've entered the lottery, and when I win, and then they start asking me questions. They're asking me questions about how they feel in the DS-260, whether they should start getting their documents together, where they should move, what the medical will be like, right? All they did was they entered the lottery. And to people like that in particular, I like to shake them, wake them up by saying, your chance of selection is 1 in 200 years, right? Because everybody then thinks, holy crap, that means it's not really likely to happen. Whereas if I say it's 1 in 200, people might think, oh, that sounds okay. It's the same thing exactly. But the way I say it, when I say 1 in 200 years, is specifically designed to say to someone, this isn't a plan. If you get selected, it's a fantastic thing. It's an incredible opportunity, but it's not something you plan to win, and everybody that enters the lottery always thinks they're going to be a winner. You wouldn't waste your time otherwise if you didn't think you were going to be a winner. But for most of us, it's not a reality, right? That's how it works. So yeah, it's interesting you pick up on the way I talk about those ways of telling people. Thank you for doing a great job, says Ruslan. My regular tourist visa was approved about a month ago. I'm a winner 2024, but my case number is high, EU 41K. Is there anything I can do or get interview in the USA? Right. Sometimes people think that they can move to America on the non-immigrant visa and then do adjustment of status from that visa, and that somehow that gives them a better chance. In general, that gives you a worse chance, in general. It's not that adjustment of status is bad. In fact, that's the way I processed my DV lottery case. It's not that it's bad. It's just that when you move to America on a non-immigrant visa, there's a few rules that you mustn't break. One of them is that you must not have intention to emigrate into the States when you enter the USA, depending on the visa you're on. So, for example, I came on an H1 visa, which was known as a dual intent. It was perfectly okay for me to be processing my DV lottery win and processing and entering on my H1 visa at the same time, because it was dual intent. But most visas are not like that. And so when you enter, you can't enter on a Monday and on a Tuesday file for adjustment of status, because that just shows that you lied when you entered. And it is possible to get a refusal purely for that reason. The other thing is that you can't do adjustment of status until your case number is shown on the visa bulletin as becoming current, right? So the final visa bulletin that affects DV 2024 will be issued in July. So let's say you move to America, let's say in May, right? How are you going to survive between May and July, right? Then in July, maybe your number gets current. You can't adjust status if your number is not current, right? So then in July, you submit your adjustment of status, and then you're really sort of sweating it, hoping to be able to process by the end of the year, and it's a bit risky, right? Now, if that's your only chance, then you would do that, but you're probably better off in waiting for consular processing in your own home country, because you're not going to break any rules. You'll be able to survive financially, and you won't fall afoul of the entering with immigrant intent rules. Okay, so yeah, be a little bit careful with that. ICC, how you doing, mate? You're very welcome. Hello, British Simon. Should I tell the examining body to send my education certificate, or should I go with my hard copy? It varies by country. I don't know. I don't know every country's education system, so I can't tell you what's considered normal in that country. But I would say read the reciprocity page instructions for your embassy and ask others from your country how they handled that, right? But normally the hard copy is okay. In West Africa, I think there's like a checking system because of the amount of fraud there. There's a checking system, so you provide a card and they can look on, the CO can check that online. So, it depends where you're from, right? My case number is AF 96,000. Will KCC consider my number? Probably not, but you'll have to wait and see. Bishay says, thanks to you, I got my visa approved. Wanted to ask one thing about USCIS payment of $220 for the green card. How to do it, or can I do it when I reach immigration? Right. Almost every embassy tells you to pay that $220 per person before you enter the USA. You actually don't have to. You can pay that immediately after entering the USA. Now, there is some suspicion, some thought that paying it before could speed up the time when you get your green card a little bit later. I don't really agree with that, to be honest. I don't think we've got enough evidence to say that's the case. And so personally, I would not pay that $220 until after I've entered the States. It's also harder sometimes to pay it from abroad. It's easiest to pay it with an American Visa debit card or credit card or MasterCard or whatever, but an American account. And you can get that very easily, a prepaid card, once you enter the USA. So it is easier to do it once you're in the USA. There's, in my opinion, no harm. And even if there was a proven fact that it speeds up your green card delivery by paying it beforehand, so what? You actually don't need your green card. And so people that get worried about, oh, it's been 3 months and I haven't got my green card, what is happening? The sky is falling. They're just being impatient for no good reason. There's no problem with not having a green card because you don't need to show it to anybody. You can show your passport with the stamped endorsed visa, and that shows that you're a lawful permanent resident, and employers have to accept that. So there's really no need to rush all of that. Just relax about green card delivery, and the $220 has to be paid obviously before you can ever get your green card delivered. It won't be delivered without that $220 payment. Okay. If I may ask, if you're not completely SHS, do you still have opportunity this program? SHS. If you're not if not yet, I have no idea what you're saying. What is this new year? What is new this year's? I can't answer questions like that. I don't know. When you ask questions like that, and people say, give me your thoughts about Asia, give me your thoughts about what's going on. I have no idea how to answer such vague questions, so I don't answer them. What do you think of Algeria's visa bulletin 35K? My case number is 99K. Do I have a chance? You've got a high number. You know that, right? And so, you're at risk. Do you have a chance? Everyone's got a chance in a way, but it's highly risky. Let's be honest. It's highly risky. You've got 5,500 selectees in Algeria. You've got a high-performing embassy with very few refusals. Only 3,850 visas for Algeria could be issued as a maximum. And I think they're likely to hit that number before your case number becomes current, frankly. But we'll have to wait and see. Thank you for doing a great job. My regular tourist visa approved about a month ago. I'm DV winner 2024, but case number is high. Oh, we already talked about that. Been with my wife 5 years. Did a civil wedding after winning the lottery. Does it put my chances low even when I have the proof? So probably it depends on the laws in your country. the fact that you did a civil wedding tells me that to legalize a wedding, a marriage in your country requires that civil wedding process. So if you had had a traditional wedding before that, then that probably doesn't have the same legal status as the civil wedding, right? That's my assumption. And so in that case, if you claimed to be married, but you actually weren't legally married, then that can be a reason for refusal. Okay. Now, what will happen? It depends partly on the rules of your country and how the COs are responding to that in your country. And I don't track that for every embassy in every country. So I don't know 100% sure whether you can pass or not with that particular situation. There are some countries where they just understand civil and or rather traditional wedding procedures, and they're very okay with it. But it's not the same in every country. Okay. 17 degrees Fahrenheit. Humans are not supposed to exist at 17 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm sure that's not legal. Like that, you should ask for your money back. If California had that temperature, I would definitely ask for my California taxes back, because that's just bullshit. That's just horrible. I'm sorry you're enduring that, but you chose where to live, right? All right, Simon, mate, just a quick one. Wanting to join the 2026 from Liverpool. If I don't know anyone there or have family, you know me. I'm family. Where do I get the green card sent to, mate? Okay, so you would make friends. I think, Jack, you may have I may have answered this for you on my blog or something. This sounds a little bit familiar. But basically, DV 2026 will open for entry in October of next year. The results will come out in May of the year after that, 2025. And most people won't get their green cards until 2026. So you've got 2 years to go make friends with someone who lives in America, basically. You find a friend of a friend, and you make friends with that person, particularly once you've been selected, if you get selected. And you ask if you can use their address to have your green card mailed to them, which is fine. There's no skin off their nose. You just have to be able to trust that person a little bit. So it's better if it's a friend of a friend or someone that you've been communicating with, right? And if you're from the UK, get off your ass, fly over to America for a vacation and make friends with someone, right? Just do that. Hi, Britt. If the principal applicant has got all the required documents, does the spouse required to have education certificate? No. The education or work experience requirement only applies to the principal applicant. They do not ask for derivatives to prove their education. Okay. When are you going to create a video with your advices for new immigrants? I don't know. It's not one interview. It's not one video. It's many videos. I think about it all the time, like every day. I wake up thinking about how I can help people out. And it's just a very, very big topic. There's a lot to it. I think I don't want to mention my book again, because I'm not doing as well writing it as I had hoped, but and I get people worked up and excited about that. But that, I think, is going to be the best way, because there's a lot of information to give, and it's more than I can do in just a couple of videos. Okay. Why many selected for fewer visas? They do it for the same way that sometimes basically they over-select the people so that they can be sure to have enough people to give away all the visas, right? Because if they under-selected, let's say they selected 55,000 people, there are people that never respond, right? Because they enter the lottery and they never bother to check if they won, or they win, but they're like, no, I don't want to move to America. I don't want to do that. Various reasons. Then there are people who are not qualified and they get refused at the interview. And then there are people who cheat and do fraud, etc. And they get refused at the interview. So there's a bunch of people that sort of fall out during the process. So they have to over-select. Now, the ideal number for them to select is about 100,000 people. If they select 100,000 people, then they can process and issue 55,000 visas, and pretty much everybody in that 100,000 group would have a good chance of getting an interview. A good chance, not perfect, but a good chance. They actually have to schedule about 70,000 people in order to give away 55,000 visas, right? So it's about the numbers we're talking about. Why they've gone and selected 140,000 people in DV 2024 is beyond me. Makes no sense, and it's sad, really. Oh, I've already answered that one. Honey, there is no requirements for the spouse yet. 1,000%. That's 1,000% is better than 100%. So yeah, you must be very confident. What do you think of the chance 46k in Addis? Okay, let's stay on this one for a second. 46k in Addis, as of today, is very, very at risk. If I were you, I would not want to take that risk. And if I had any way possible of moving to a different country where visa interviews are being more properly done, I would do that. And if you're going to do that, you must not wait until you're current, right? You're close to being current. And if you become current and your DS-260 is processed, then you become locked into the AV queue for Addis if you're there, right? So you're far better off, if you can, is move in the next few weeks, like to another country, move to Kenya or wherever else, so that you can then unlock your DS-260, change your address, and be assigned to that other embassy, right? Now, don't tell KCC I told you this, but let's say you did all that, and then you moved back to the Addis area, right? Once you've been scheduled at, let's say, Nairobi, you can then say to Addis Ababa, hang on a minute, I've been scheduled in Nairobi, but it would be more convenient for me to be interviewed at Addis. Can you accept my case? And even though they haven't got to your case number, they will accept your case from Nairobi as a transfer, which does not involve KCC, right? So that actually has worked for some people in the past. If you look at Addis Ababa from DV 2023, you'll see that they have all sorts of interviews up until about 20,000. And then after that, there are a few interviews for people at all sorts of number ranges at, 30,000, 40,000. I think the highest is about 56,000. Those specific cases were transferred from other embassies. Now, far be it from me for telling you, to tell a little fib, but if you've got any intelligence at all, you can work out what I'm saying. You can read between the lines, right? So you get scheduled somewhere else and then transfer back to Addis, almost like you never moved in the first place. Okay. Anyway, good job you're doing, sir. How can I reach out to you directly? You can't. You can't reach out to me directly because I'm not a lawyer. I don't do this for money. And I would rather answer all questions in public so that more people benefit from those answers. So you can't. You can post a question at BritSimonSays.com and I will read it personally, and I will answer it personally, just me, right? My whole corporation is sitting right here. We're all right here. So, I'm happy to answer your questions, but I'm not going to answer them in private. Okay. Does Tanzania Embassy conduct DV lottery interview? Yes, it does. Can student visa, which were denied before, affect the DV lottery? Normally, non-immigrant visas are refused because there is a suspicion in the consular officer's mind that you're going to overstay your visa and try and emigrate to America. And so that reason, which is the most common reason for non-immigrant visa refusals, is not a concern for DV lottery, because it's bloody obvious you are going to emigrate there. That's the point of that DV lottery, right? So generally speaking, unless you were denied for some other reason, your denial on a B4 or B1, B2, whatever, generally won't affect your DV lottery. Okay, depends why. but generally it doesn't. What about Nairobi, Kenya? Anything? Yeah, they're doing great. They've got 891 visas scheduled, interviews scheduled so far. Really good performance so far. And so, you know, they're doing well. Let's see what they do in the coming months. DV 2022 winner, 43K, my wife and 2 kids from Ethiopia. Lucky enough to get an interview chance. What's the last date of DV interview scheduled? When's the right time to apply for citizens? Well, hang on. If you're a DV 2022 winner, oh, you were lucky to get your interview on the last date. Oh my God, that's awesome. So congratulations. You just squeezed in. I'm really pleased for you. You can apply for citizenship after being in the States for 5 years, right? You have to have legal presence. You have to have, there's a formula for it. Like, how much time have you been in America? Have you never left America for more than 6 months at a time? There's a sort of a clock that goes, but it's 5 years. You can actually apply just a bit before the 5-year period, or you can wait until after the 5 years, but it takes about 5 years to become a citizen. I did that. I waited, funnily enough, I waited because Trump was the president. When my 5-year clock was up, Trump was the president. And the last thing I wanted was a citizenship document with his stupid signature on it. So I waited until I was going to be approved under the Biden administration. The highest case number in Algeria is 121K. What do you think about 62K? Is there any chance? Yeah, 62K's got a good chance. For secondary information, mate, I'm English. I finished school with all the GCSEs, but no A-levels and degree. Went into welding and did a vocational course with City and Guilds. Include that too. Actually, Jack, I'm sorry to say you don't meet the requirements. So there's 2 ways of qualifying in the lottery. One path is through education, and the education level they need is the point at which you can enter university. When we talk about a US, a kid of a US high school graduate, high school in America is 18 years old, and from high school, kids can go straight into college, and college is the word they use for university. Why they can't get the language right, I don't know. But anyway, so a high school graduate in the US is the level that you have to be in order to, equivalent level. So in other words, it's the point at which you can enter university. So if you didn't get A levels, which is what you need in the UK to be able to then go into university, then you can't qualify through the education route. A City and Guilds in welding is a vocational training. It's a vocational education route. That can't be used. So you can't use that. And as a welder, if that's what you are, if you're a welder, although that's a very highly skilled job, I don't think a welder, let me just check that. Let me check that before I say that for sure. But I don't think a welder meets the qualifications. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to check here. This is kind of interesting. I don't often get questions like this, so let me do this for Jack, because he's a countryman. All right, so we're going to go to ONET Online. Right, so ONET Online is a website in America that allows the government to determine things about various jobs, right? So welders, cutters, soldiers. So you've got various job descriptions, right? So let's say you're a welder, cutter, soldier. Let's say that's near your job description. This is job zone 2 with an SVP range of 4 to just under 6. So what they're looking for is jobs that have a job zone 4 and an SVP range of 7 or greater. So so a welder doesn't cut it, right? Let's say you're now you can operators and tenders. Let's see, we'll look at other variations. No, there's still job zone 2 and 4, so that's no good. Let's say structural iron and steel workers. Job zone 2. No. And I just want to find something that's a little bit different. Sometimes, you see, this is a boilermaker, right? What the hell is a boilermaker compared to a welder? I don't know. But job zone 3, medium preparation, it's getting closer, but it's not enough. It's still not enough. So even if you're experienced as a welder, unless you are a manager, for example, manager of other welders, and you describe your job differently to being a welder, then your job, even though you've done lots of preparation for that, and you did a city and guilds and so on, it's not enough to pass this process. So if you were a, let's say, metalwork manager, I don't know if such a title exists. Craft artist, this could be interesting. What if you said, no, that's 3. No, you can see the problem I'm having here, but you can basically say there are some jobs that, even though they're what you might call blue collar jobs, sometimes for some reason they rate those jobs a little bit higher. So let's say general and operations managers. Let's say you're a manager of a team of welders and you're working at some plant or something. Because you're a manager, job zone 4, right? And the SVP range is enough. So if you can describe your job in a way that matches an ONET online job description at a higher level, job zone 4 or SVP, then you might have a chance of approval. But if you don't meet the education requirements, you have to meet the work experience requirements, one or the other, right? It's either or. And the work experience requirement requires you to have 2 years experience over the last 5 years, but that 2 years has to be at a level which is job zone 4 or SVP range of 7 or above, a certain level, right? I'm hoping that makes sense to you. So Jack, I'm hoping you can figure that out. Let me know if you've got a way of changing your job title a little bit, right? EU 10K, transfer my case to Frankfurt, and I'm scheduled. Frankfurt, I'm doing really well. To make you understand, I have my German DV visa, but not the green card. Didn't apply the card yet. Would this be a problem? No, I don't see that as a problem. I don't know why you transferred there, but once you're in Europe, the ability to travel around Europe is pretty easy. So I think it's unlikely that a consular officer is going to ask you for a local visa. Because you're there, right? So might do, but I don't think that would be a problem. Okay, let's answer 1 or 2 more questions here. From AFG, Afghanistan, I guess. My wife is a winner, DV 2024. Couples, no, your wife is the winner. She has to meet the education requirement, not you. So it's not a problem if you don't have your degree. It doesn't make any difference. It's your wife that has to. Not very clear on what you're asking, but I think that's what you're asking. Okay. Okay. Let's just answer 1 or 2 more questions, and then I need to get on with my day. Right, I successfully changed my interview location on the DS260, not 269, to a better performing embassy following the steps in one of your videos. Good. When exactly will the change be effective? Well, when you become current, you will automatically be assigned to an embassy based on your current address, right? Now, if you're nervous about that, you can email them after you've changed your address. You can email them a couple of weeks later and say, hey, I've moved to Nairobi. Can you make sure I'm interviewed in Nairobi, please? And so, it's effective. They will take that into account immediately as soon as you change the address and as soon as you then become current, right? And when you become current, if your DS260 is processed, They then look for all the cases that should be allocated to a given embassy, Nairobi or Cairo or whatever it is, and they then assign those cases at that point based on current addresses at that point, right? That's how it works. Okay. Okay. Let's see. What a great point, Julius. Give me some likes on this video, please. That would be very nice. Thank you. What is wrong with Beirut Embassy only reaching max case number 17? 17? I presume you mean 17,000. I'm not sure what you mean, actually. It may not make a lot of sense. I don't know what's going on at Beirut Embassy. I haven't looked at it, but you could look at what work they are doing. If you look at the official issuance statistics, you might see, for example, they're doing immediate relative cases. I don't know for sure, but you could go and have a look at that. Also, after seeing the SEAC data analysis video, I decided not to submit my DS260. Asia 33,000. Keep a careful eye on that, because you're not completely impossible range, right? It's a very, very risky range. But keep a careful eye, because weird things happen sometimes, right? So, you'll just keep an eye on it, right? But you can, if by May, for example, you were thinking, oh man, I might have a chance here at Asia 33K, you could submit your DS260 in May and still get processed in time. So, yeah. It's a possible way to do it. What is the 2NL? Second notification letter. It's the scheduling of, it's the notification that you've had an appointment scheduled for you. Okay, I'm going to do one more thing. Just going to check the latest comments. I just want to see one more thing here. I want to see if my mate Jack has answered about whether he can come up with a different. Couldn't see it. I don't know if Jack has not answered, or he's annoyed with me now because I said he doesn't qualify, but still he's not answered. Okay, I'm going to call that a day. Oh, that's what I am, mate. I am an industrial team leader for nuclear power plants. Have about 6 lads under me. Okay, yeah. So you need to make more of the management part than, so you qualified as a welder, but you went into a different job which has got, high, I'm sure it's a high degree of training, etc. So make more of the management part. And obviously when you're going to prove your job, you would show your job title, your progression that got there, the salary. The salary should be more than the average Joe blogs, right? So, and the fact that you work in nuclear plants sounds very impressive. So you would make more of that. So Jack, yeah, you've probably got a chance if you can sort of make your job sound, more impressive. Let's say nuclear. Oh God, can I spell nuclear? Nuclear engineer, right? Okay, let me just show you my screen again. And we'll have a look here. Nuclear engineers, for example. Job zone 4, bingo, right? If you can describe yourself as a nuclear engineer. How about if you said you were a nuclear technician, right? Sounds pretty good. Job zone 3, not quite enough. So the lads working for you are probably, the 6 lads, they're probably job zone 3, right? And you being the supervisor, you're going to be, are you an operator maybe? That sounds a bit job zone 3-ish, we'll see. Yeah, 3. But if you're a supervisor, you might, for example, be a supervisor or a manager of a team. You would make a lot of that supervisory role. You would, and if you can call yourself manager, then better, right? So yeah, that's how you would do it, Jack. And you would try and convince the consular officer that you were at that level, right? So industrial team leader, that sounds like a supervisor, but anyway, let's see. Let's just search that, industrial team leader. First line supervisor of production and operating workers, and that's 3. Yours, make a little bit more, make more of the description, right? And find, it's perfectly okay to find an ONET online job description that you want to qualify for. Let's just, let me show you something else. This is interesting for others as well. So once you find a job that has the correct job zone, you then look at the tasks that job would be expected to perform. So if you said you're a manager or you're a supervisor or you work in a nuclear plant or whatever, right? There's a list of points here. So what I would do if I were in your position, Jack, is I would print this off and I would get my CV to say some of these things, right? Some of these tasks, right? These are tasks. What tasks do you perform on a regular basis? What technology skills do you have? I'd go through that and I would make sure that I said, yeah, I use Mastercam all the time. And the consular officer doesn't have a clue. They're not from your industry, right? But they'll be looking for keywords in your CV. And, so you can rewrite your CV to make it sound more aligned with the job that you've printed out. So you take the printed out job description from ONET online, and you align your CV to that, and you make sure your job title sounds like that job, and you show your salary that is higher than most of the lads, and that's how you qualify, right? You build a picture, and basically the way the consular officers work is that they're looking to approve these visas. They want to approve these visas. They just need you to help them a little bit. And make the case a little bit sort of more palatable. Now, obviously, Jack, this is all for nothing if you don't win. So, I'm partly speaking to Jack here, and I'm partly speaking to everybody else who has been selected. But you've got to win first before anything happens, Jack. So, good luck with that anyway. All right, everybody. If you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up on this video. It does help me to get thumbs up on these videos, apparently. I don't know. So they tell me. And also, please subscribe to the channel so that my information can get out to more people. There are some really crappy equivalents of me providing horrible information, horribly inaccurate information. And frankly, it's frustrating to me to see others hurting people's chances with bad information. So I would appreciate if you would help me get my information out there by making my channel more and more popular, and therefore more people will get correct, accurate information from a previous DV lottery, winner or derivative. Who cares? And I've been doing this for 10 years, right? So hopefully people get the correct information from me, not lousy information from some of those other channels. All right. Thanks everybody for listening in. Hope you're having a great Monday, and I'll see you later on this week. All right. Bye-bye now.